Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to At America. Thank you. At America is the U.S. Embassy American Center, where our mission is to provide a space for Indonesians to explore, experience, and express American culture through our diverse programs and facilities we have. Kindly visit our website at www.atamerica.or.id to become our precious member for free. And hi everyone, I'm Farah Shiba, one of At America e-guide here, and now you're watching Inclusive Finance, Bridging Gaps for Everyone. In this talk, we are going to explore strategies to make financial services accessible, equitable, and ensure that no one left behind in the journey toward financial inclusion. And also, I would like to greet our fellow students here from Universitas Pelita Harapan. Hi, everyone. And also our fellow students from Universitas Prima Graha. Hi, everyone, and welcome to At America. And ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, now let us hear an opening remarks from Macroeconomics and Finance Unit Chief from the U.S. Embassy, Jakarta. Everyone, please welcome Jeffrey Campbell.
Okay, thank you, Farah, and thank you, everyone. Selamat sore. Good afternoon and welcome to At America. Deputy Chief of Mission Heather Merritt was sick today, so she sends her regrets. She wanted to be here. But my name is Jeff Campbell. As Farah mentioned, I work at the U.S. Embassy here in Jakarta in the economic section. I'm pleased to be here today to open this event on the important topic of financial inclusion. So first, I'd like to recognize our speakers, Senior U.S. Official to Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Ambassador Matt Murray, Elsya Chani, Head of Economic and Financial Inclusion Group at Bank Indonesia, and Aileen Go, Mastercard Indonesia President, Director, and Country Manager. Thank you for being here. Okay, and thank you all for being here with us to share the important work, Thank you for being with us today to share the important work your organizations are doing to support financial inclusion in Indonesia. One of the goals of the United States and Indonesia is to promote and support inclusive economic growth. A major part of this is financial inclusion. This means everyone, including women and small businesses, have access to financial products and services like bank accounts, loans, and investment opportunities. Financial literacy is also an important part of inclusive economic growth. One of the major challenges that people face when trying to access financial services is they might not have knowledge about how to manage or invest their money. As more and more financial services move online, digital financial literacy becomes important. Not only do people need access to financial products, they need education about finances and how to use financial technology like banking and investment applications. Indonesia has made incredible progress in financial inclusion. According to data from the World Bank, the percentage of people in Indonesia who own a bank account increased from just 20% in 2011 to 52% in 2021. There's still a lot of work to do. Digital financial literacy is important for small businesses, which employ most of the workforce. And many of these small businesses are unable to grow because they don't have access to financing or knowledge of how to use it. In addition, most small businesses in Indonesia are owned and managed by women, and women around the world, not just in Indonesia, face unique challenges in accessing financial information and financial services. The U.S. mission in Indonesia is proud to work with our partners in the Indonesian government and the private sector to promote gender equality and women's empowerment through programs that increase financial inclusion. For example, the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, earlier this year launched its Financial Inclusion for Women-Led Small and Medium Enterprises, or FINClusion, project. This project aims to mobilize $50 million in lending to help women-owned small businesses in Indonesia. Also this year, the United States, through the Millennium Challenge Corporation, or MCC, launched a new compact with the government of Indonesia totaling nearly $700 million. Part of the compact is a project that will focus on increasing access to financing for small businesses, especially women-owned businesses. The embassy also promotes financial inclusion through public events like this one. Our economic section and public affairs section work together to host events through our Women in Finance series. This series includes panel discussions, workshops, and podcasts. Our next financial literacy workshop is next Thursday, October 24th, so mark your calendars. We hope you'll join us. Today, you'll hear from a great panel of experts on the topic of financial inclusion and financial literacy. You'll hear about the work they're doing and have the opportunity to ask them some questions. Our moderator, Ambassador Matt Murray, the United States Senior Official for Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, welcome to Indonesia. Thank you as well to our panelists and to our audience for being a part of this event. Terima kasih.
Yes, thank you so much to Macroeconomics and Finance Unit Chief from U.S. Embassy Jakarta, Pak Jeffrey Campbell, for the remarks given. And ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to enter the main session of today's talk. Let us invite our moderator to start our talk today. He is a senior official for Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, Bureau of East Asian and Pacific Affairs. Everyone, please welcome Ambassador Matt Murray.
Terima kasih banyak. So it's really a delight to be here, and especially with so many students, because the first time I came to Indonesia, I was a university student in 1995. And so really at that time fell in love with Indonesia, fell in love with Asia, and really decided that I wanted to spend much of my career in this part of the world. So it's great to be here with all of you. And I hope that all of you are also doing maybe better than I did in school, and are really working hard and really, trying to, look to how you can make a difference in the future. So we look forward to your questions today, especially all of your hard questions about financial inclusion for our experts, who I'll call up in a moment. But just a little bit about APEC, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, to which I'm the U.S. senior official. The United States and Indonesia are both members of this 21-member economy organization, which has been around since 1989. And Indonesia hosted several years ago. The United States hosted APEC meetings last year. You may have seen the news about the meetings in San Francisco. And one of the big focuses of APEC is, how can we promote not just promote trade and investment and have more sustainable growth and more innovative growth, but how can we do it in a way that benefits everyone? And how can we make sure that economic inclusion is at the heart of what we're trying to do around the region, not just in the United States and Indonesia, but all throughout Asia and Latin America, Australia, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, all the places where we have APEC members. And this year, Peru is hosting APEC. And Peru has made economic inclusion one of their top priorities for their APEC host year. And they are working on a roadmap that can be shared with the whole region on how to transition from the informal economy to the formal economy, particularly using digital tools and also by addressing issues related to governance and other challenges that often get in the way of economic inclusion. So I'm very excited that we're going to be able to talk about this today with two experts from right here in Jakarta. So I'd like to call up Ibu Elsya from Bank Indonesia, and also Ibu Aileen from Mastercard. Yeah, thank you. So welcome, selamat datang. And I said a couple things just now about APEC and our work in APEC, and I just wonder if you could just kick off by just saying a little bit about your work. Maybe Ibu Elsya go first on Bank Indonesia, and then we'll pass to Aileen to hear a little bit about what she's doing at Mastercard.
Okay, maybe I could tell. Thank you, Ambassador. It is really a pleasure to be here. This is my first time coming to this site because I think last night I visited Pacific Place. I didn't know that this place you have this corner here. I mean, the secret corner of the American Embassy. Okay, thank you for inviting us. We are from. My name is Elsya Chani. I'm from the Department of Economic financial inclusion and green economy. So we just have new department being officially initiated 1st of October, because in the past the name of MSME development and financial inclusion. Now it is economic, financial inclusion, and green economy. So the reorganization, the transformation reflects the importance of economic and financial inclusion to Bank Indonesia. So we work on, we always believe today, this afternoon, I heard so many times Ambassador and Jeff Campbell mentioned about the economic inclusion. So we in Bank Indonesia believe that economic and financial inclusion should be harmonized, should be worked together, because in the end, financial inclusion must have impact on the financial well-being of the people we are targeting. So that's what we are doing. So in economic inclusion, what we do is developing the MSME and also developing the subsistence group. This is the group of people with a low income, including a woman, including some target group, low-income people in Indonesia. So we do some pilot projects, we do some replication. We also work with the ministries and with the institution to replicate this. So the model that we are having would create more impact in increasing the economy of the targeted people. So they can be included financially in a more constructive, in a more productive, and a more sustainable manner than just connect them with the financial services without the work on economic inclusion. That's what we do, including MSME, including women, including the target groups with low income. So in financial inclusion, we are part of the National Board of Financial Inclusion, which is supported by 22 ministries and government institutions to achieve the target in financial inclusion, to have the level of financial inclusion 90% by end of 2024, which we are quite optimistic. But then come, as Jeff also mentioned, the challenge of digital financial literacy. So it is now our big challenge, and our work after that is going to be focused more on this digital financial literacy, as financial inclusion in a way has been accelerated so much, supported by this development and acceptance in the digital in our economic life activities. Maybe that's a little bit about what we do in Bank Indonesia on financial inclusion.
Perfect. And I like how you talked about how financial inclusion is, connecting people in different groups to the different products that they need and services that they need in the banks, but also taking a more holistic, comprehensive approach, that it's not just about opening a bank account, but that it's about more than that. So, Aileen, if you could talk a little bit from Mastercard's perspective, what it is that you do and your focus areas, and then maybe a little bit about how you see financial inclusion.
Selamat sore, Assalamualaikum. Very happy to be here today. Very happy to be with a lot of young people and young ladies. This is something that's very exciting for me. Also my first time. Also didn't know about the secret corner here in Pacific Place Mall. So my name is Aileen. I'm the President Director of PT Mastercard Indonesia. The brand Mastercard, for some of you, should be quite familiar. We are a technology company, and the main part of our business is focused on connecting consumers like you to businesses so that you can make digital payments, whether it's through a kartu plastic or through your mobile phone with an aplikasi. So that's what we do from a technology perspective. And we've always been very, very interested in how the economy develops for a few simple reasons. We believe that for a business like ours to do well, the economy must do well. But we believe that economies can be strong only when communities are strong. And so we believe in the social unit of you as an individual and your families, that you need to do well for your communities to do well so that the overall economy can grow. And we believe that this is a journey that takes a long time. But then we're a company that's going to be here for a long time anyway. So we're very happy to make that investment in time
and an effort to try and make sure that the economy of Indonesia grows in a very inclusive and sustainable manner. So that's really the view and the journey of how we believe that it's important to do well as a business, but only by doing good in an inclusive and a sustainable manner. Why I'm so excited to be with you here today is because you represent the future leadership of this country. So what we're going to talk about today should not only matter to you as an individual, because you should care about financial inclusion, it will matter to your country. And some of the things that we'll talk about today, these will be messages and ideas that you should take home and think about, because you will be able to do something for Indonesia that will be good for Indonesia, and some of that will be in financial inclusion. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, get your questions. Very privileged to be here with Bei today. I think we're going to learn quite a lot. But I don't know if I have that much to teach you. I think we're just observers in this. I think we're all learning. So look forward to the discussion.
Great. Well, thank you to both of you and for talking and outlining for us what we're talking about with regard to financial inclusion. And I especially like, Aileen, how you sort of explained just now why this is important to all of us, but especially why it's important to young people as you go forward, not only with your own careers and your own lives, but as you try to build a more prosperous society here. What was interesting to me just now listening to both of you talk about financial inclusion is when I am in the United States or when I talk to other APEC economies in the region, I think the what financial inclusion is, what the goals are very similar in terms of connecting people and connecting groups, including underrepresented groups, including women, including small and medium-sized enterprises to financial products and services. That's pretty much the same story, I think, everywhere. But what's different sometimes are the challenges that need to be overcome in a specific country or specific place. So maybe if starting with Ibu Elsya, if you could talk a little bit about, what are some of the challenges that need to be overcome, particularly here in Indonesia, when it comes to financial inclusion? What are some of the reasons that some Indonesians might not have access for financial services and products? And how can we get those percentages up a little bit that Jeff was talking about earlier on the percentage of people who have bank accounts and that sort of thing?
Thank you, Ambassador Murray, for the very important questions. So currently, the level of financial inclusion in Indonesia can consider quite high. If you based on the ownership, the level is around 65. Based on the ownership, the level is 76.3% in 2023. But based on the usage, the people who has access by using the financial services without owning the account, the number is quite higher, 88.7% in 2023. But there's still number of people who doesn't have accounts, and still numbers of people who doesn't have access to financial services. The reason may varies, but there's a survey from the World Bank about this from the people who doesn't have account in the financial services, being asked why they don't have account. Then 70% of them answered they don't have account because they don't have money. So this really struck us, and it really highlighted the importance to combine the effort in improving financial inclusion with the effort empowering the low-income people, economically empowering low-income people so they can also be economically included in the economic activities and having better income. The other reason is because some people living in remote areas and with the digitalization, most of them already being reached by the financial services, but still there are areas which are not covered by the services, so they cannot have this access to the financial services. So that is the second reason. And the other reason is the lack of the necessary administrative documentation. The lack of administrative documentation. So this is also the issue that we need to address, and we need to get in in an integrated manner within the National Board of Financial Inclusion address it. So there's no one left behind, as you already mentioned also. So everybody can easily get access to financial inclusion, not only because they have administrative they have all these administrative documents, but also because they also have money to be saved and to be managed in these financial services. Thank you.
Great. So some of it is that basic not having enough money. Some of it might be not having enough information. Some of it might not be the digital tools, the digitalization, and access to financial services generally, right? And I like what you said too about considering people in remote areas. I think sometimes we look at these issues as just being urban city issues, but certainly different people in different parts of the country, and obviously in Indonesia you have some remote areas out in the different islands. That's a really important point as well. Aileen, what about from Mastercard's perspective in terms of some of the obstacles you see here in Indonesia and some of the challenges people face with respect to financial inclusion?
So I want to echo what Ibu here has said, because I think definitely in an archipelago, physical access is very, very difficult. I speak to a lot of banks as part of my work, and I know that in some of the kampongs, it will take you 2 to 3 hours to get to the nearest bank branch. So physical access to some of the service providers where you can open a bank account or get some financial service product is very, very, very difficult. So that, I think, makes it hard for people to get access to it. But here's the other thing. A lot of banks and financial service providers have also invested in digitization, right? So they will tell you, oh, we've got digital, we've put in an aplikasi, you can get it on your smartphone now. Everyone in Indonesia can get access to it. But digital access in itself has its own challenges. So in Mastercard, we don't just talk about financial inclusion anymore, because the real economy that's growing is a digital economy. And really, at the end of the day, I think in the last 12 to 18 months since COVID, we've been much more focused on digital inclusion. So even if you were able to do things on an app in your phone, the challenge with digital access is this: literacy. And I'm not talking about financial literacy. I'm talking just about literacy. Because when you don't have someone in front of you explaining what this means, you have to read it. You have to read it. And if literacy is not great, you're not going to be able to understand what you're reading. Number two, even if you could read it, if your financial literacy is quite poor, you wouldn't understand it. I'll give you an example. Took me 9 months to buy life insurance. This is me, Ibu Aileen, right? 9 months to buy life insurance because I read the product documentation by myself. I couldn't understand what my life insurance policy was trying to tell me. I literally had to call someone to explain it to me. So some things that we do take for granted, both in terms of literacy and financial literacy, are very difficult for people, even if they have it on their mobile phone. It's the simple reason why even if you could do top-up of your pulsa in your app, you still go to the toko and you ask the bapak to top it up for you, right? Because literacy is actually a real barrier to, financial services in a digital app. So we were trying to solve for physical access. We haven't quite solved for digital access because it takes a long time. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's been a little bit slow. What it's important to do is when we reach out to communities like yourself, we want to try and enable you and educate you so that you can go home and enable and educate some of your family members and some of your friends, and you can find ways to enable and educate yourselves through the resources that are available online. I think that's what I meant as well in terms of how we empower communities to make economies stronger, because it is a journey that we need to go on, right?
Well, that's a really interesting point. And so I don't know if I'm allowed to do this or not, but I want to see if I could take a survey from the audience here, okay, if you all don't mind participating. How many of you have some sort of payment app on your phone that you use on a regular basis? Raise your hand if you have a payment app, something you use to pay from your phone. Don't be shy. So
Ada GoPay, Dana.
Who has that on your phone? Yeah.
Aplikasi pembayaran apa? Yeah.
Pretty much everybody, right?
Brimo.
Okay, Now, second question. How many of you understand everything that you see on that app and how it works? Like you understand, everything that you're reading and all the services that are available to you. How many people understand everything? I can't put my hand up. Maybe? Is anybody? A few? Hesitant people? Okay. So I think it's a great point, right? It's not just about making sure that there's a digital tool that's available to you, but it's also about making sure that you also understand everything that's available to you, right? So thank you, Ibu Aileen. That was a great point. I wanted to ask Ibu Elsya, and especially given your work with micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, we talked a little bit about the challenges different regions have when it comes to financial inclusion. But what different groups have specific challenges when it comes to accessing when it comes to financial inclusion and accessing some of these services?
Thank you very much. But if you allow me, I would like to respond also on the importance of these literacy issues, because now the literacy is very important, and the advancement of technology increase the complexities in this financial system. In this, whatever you are using, if you're not having adequate literacy, so it is very important. And sometimes without adequate literacy, then you are trying to use the financial services. You are using it without knowing the risk, without knowing how to use it and get the optimum benefit out of these services. So this is the very important of literacy. And from the discussion, I forgot, maybe from OECD, 5 of 6 issues in this financial inclusion, 5 of 6 issues concerning the scam in the not only digital, in the payment and the financial transactions involve this digital literacy. So I just trying to highlight the importance of this financial literacy, especially nowadays digital financial literacy. And Bank Indonesia working a lot, and will be prioritizing the effort to enhance, to improve the digital financial literacy in the coming year. So it is going to be priority in our strategic business plan, and we are now having the study on the core competencies. What are the competencies, the most important competencies needed for people, adult, for young people, for the small businesses, so they can adequately literate in accessing the financial services, especially the digital financial services. So back to your question, Ambassador. Very sorry. So the challenges related to financial inclusion, of course, is not the same for everyone, especially in Indonesia. The people are so diverse, so certain groups and regions face more significant barriers than others in accessing financial services. Factors such as geographical challenges, income level, digital and financial literacy play crucial roles in determining whether an individual can effectively participate in the financial system. And these challenges compounded for a specific vulnerable group like low-income people, women, rural dwellers, and marginalized community. First, in Indonesia, geographic barriers are one of the most significant challenges to financial inclusion. So we have 17,000 islands, create logistical and infrastructure challenges, particularly for rural population. The infrastructures in some areas are underdeveloped, with poor telecommunication, limited access to banking facilities, and some areas, these islands, I've been to island like Labenki, an island across the city of Kendari, in southeast Sulawesi. So the electricity only live for 2 hours in a day and then turn off and then live again because they're waiting for the diesel fuel to for the generators, for electric generators. So this kind of thing are still there. So this explains the lower financial inclusion rates in the rural areas. The financial inclusion rate in the rural areas is only 84.8% as compared to urban areas 91.5% based on the survey in 2023. This is by usage. When I say by usage, it's like you come to a family and asking who has an account and who are using this account. So this is by usage. So it doesn't necessarily, these 5 people, for example, who are using this account are having this account, but they have access to this account to use. And second, income and employment status are also significant factors that influence financial inclusion. 2021 Global Findex survey reported that 47% of financially excluded individuals in Indonesia are out of the workforce, making it more difficult for them to establish stable financial presence. So for the low income and informal sector, the cost of maintaining bank account or accessing credit are quite high. So some people choose to just have their account being inactive. And third, digital financial literacy is a growing issue in Indonesia. As Indonesia transitions towards a digital economy, while the use of digital financial services is expanding, many Indonesians, particularly in underserved area, lack the skills or knowledge to access and fully benefit from the services. So those are the 3 main reasons for this financial exclusion in Indonesia.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And I think you've given a lot of examples there of specific challenges and specific groups, whether that's underrepresented groups, whether it's women, people without the financial literacy, as you said. Ibu Aileen, is there anything else you would want to add in terms of maybe specific groups that don't have the access to services that they need or aren't really as part of the system as they need to be?
So I agree with what Ibu Elsya has said. Obviously, women, I think, traditionally have scored a little bit lower in terms of being financially included. And to be very honest, as a female myself and having looked at, I think, communities, women are actually very, very enabled these days. But I think sometimes culturally, we hold ourselves back a little bit, which is a little bit different from maybe how boys are raised. And I think that sometimes culturally then leads to some of the differences that we see even in communities where you see women being given the same access to education and coming from the same background. Sometimes culturally, women hold themselves back a little bit. Yes, they're more busy, they're raising children, they're juggling different things that men maybe don't have to do. But I would also say that I think, part of, why I like to spend time with young women a lot is just to kind of say that, there is a way for you to step into the light, and be on your front foot on this. I think this is quite important for your families as well, right? And for your community. So I think I would say, even when I've seen communities where there has been equal enablement, women sometimes hold themselves back. So that is, I think, the one thing I wanted to add there a little bit. A lot of micro SMEs, I think, so I enjoy listening to the work that we're doing with all the micro usaha. A lot of micro SMEs, we call them micro, but actually it's still one person, right? So a lot of the things that we're trying to do there to enable them, because again, it's hard to have resources if you're just one person running a business and managing your own personal life as well, right? So I think there's a lot more that we're doing there to try and include them.
Well, thanks for that, and I'm personally very excited to hear your answer on that, because in APEC, these are a couple of the areas that we've been very focused. We've been very focused on women's economic empowerment, because we see that around the region, when women can fully participate in their economy, the economy does better, communities do better, families do better, and it's been proven over time. So the United States was very proud that in 2011, when we hosted APEC, we launched the Women in Economy Forum for the first time, and the Policy Partnership on Women in the Economy, which was under the leadership of then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. And so we've continued with that work over time. And last year in Seattle, we had a ministerial that was a joint ministerial of the Women in Economy Forum with the small and medium-sized enterprise ministerial, because as we've seen, when women-owned SMEs are successful, it's better for economies around the region. And so very encouraged to hear you say that here. So we've talked about some of the challenges. I want to turn a little bit to some of the specific solutions that Bank Indonesia and Mastercard are deploying. And so maybe, Ibu Elsya, if we could start back with you, talk about a little bit about Bank Indonesia's programs related to financial inclusion and some of the specific things that you're doing to really try to advance in this area here in Indonesia.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador. I would like to tell more about the economic empowerment program that we have, but maybe I will give a bigger picture first on what we do in financial inclusion. So we are supporting the National Board in Financial Inclusion in all of these 7 working groups. So, so there are, in the supply side issues, trying to address also the demand side issues. Based on the root cause of that keep the last mile society from accessing the financial system, Bank Indonesia recognized the importance of linking financial inclusion strategy with economic inclusion. So the initiative, including from the supply side, we developed the blueprint of Indonesian payment system 2030. So to speed up the digitalization, the digitalization in the economy, in the financial system, and it serves as a strategic roadmap to accelerate the growth of our digital economy for the future generation. And secondly, on the macroprudential policy, we implement policies to support financial inclusion. Especially the key policies is macroprudential inclusive financing ratio, for the conventional and Islamic banks, and the liquidity incentive policy to enhance financial inclusion and sustainable finance. So for the targeted, so for banks or financial inclusion, which finance the targeted industries, including the MSME, will have some incentive coming from the central bank in terms of we cut the reserve requirement which they need to put in the central bank. So at the maximum of 1.5%, if they achieve the target which categorized in the financial inclusion target. So, and on the demand side, economic empowerment is carried out to support sustainable economic growth through acceleration of economic and financial inclusion synergy with the stakeholders. So we have this program in empowering low-income people. We have projects, 92 projects all over Indonesia, at which 70% of the participants of women. We are now undergoing to enhance the policy. So we have the policy especially for women within this group. So this policy being revised, so it will provide an enabling environment for women to be succeeded in this program. So this is the new policy which we are undergoing the formulation. And we have also financial education conducted to improve access and literacy in financial matters through the development of targeted, massive, and structured modules, guidelines, and competencies. So this is implemented through the preparation and education of digital financial services. We work together also with the financial service providers. We have the movement, we call it Gerakan Bersama for Financial Education. We work together also with the Financial Service Authority or OJK. We also increasing access to finance. We are facilitating the MSME to increase access to finance. We give them financial education, how to manage the small businesses, separate the personal finance with the business finance, and facilitating them to the financing when they need to increase the capacity of their businesses. So, and we also enhance the consumer protection, making people more comfortable in using the financial services because Bank Indonesia is there. So if you have complaint, if it doesn't work, you complain to the financial service providers. They don't really handle you well. You may complain to Bank Indonesia, and we will go through this and trying to support you in this.
Great. Well, you've just outlined, if I could ask a quick follow-up question. You've outlined a lot of different initiatives that Bank Indonesia has launched, and all in the name of trying to make progress in these areas. Have you had any good success stories so far, or good outcomes that you've seen? Any examples of where some of these new initiatives have made a really positive impact?
For example, in our project for the subsistence, kelompok subsisten, we call it, economic empowerment for the subsistence group, we see the increase in the financial access. We see also the improvement on their income. I don't have the data with me. Gina, do you have the data on the increase in the income? But I can show you the example. So one of our project in Jambi, for example, is for the pineapple farmer. So when they sell this pineapple, a raw pineapple to the market, one pickup car of pineapple only give them income of 200,000 rupiah. This is very low. 200,000, maybe $15, one pickup. But then when we give them skill, we train them how to process this pineapple into sambal nanas, this pineapple into kue nastar, this pineapple into jam, into many forms of pineapple products. Then it increased their income more than 10 times. So in a very short period, but we need to give them training on how to make these products, on how to manage the business, and also how to ensure that they can be in a group so they can produce more products, they can sell it to the larger business entity like the supermarket, or selling it to the hotel, to the tourist attractions. So this is very successful project. We are now working together with the Ministry of ATR BPN, Ministry of Land Reform, because they are interested in replicating these business models of economic empowerment to the people who are receiving the benefit of land reform. And also we are now working with Ministry of the Women and Children Empowerment, Ministry P3A. So they also interested in working together with us to replicate this model to their target groups.
Great, thank you. And I think one point you've made a lot today, which I think is really important, is there's not just one thing, one magic thing that you can do that solves this problem or creates the right environment, right? You need to have different ministries involved, you need to have different stakeholders involved, different kinds of companies, you need to look at the market. It's about a comprehensive approach, right?
We need to work with the financial institutions. We need to work, for example, in the case of in other case, for example, chili farmers, we need to work with the Ministry of Agriculture, how to grow a more productive chili, for example. Yeah. We work with a lot of government institutions. We work a lot with the financial sectors as well.
Yeah. So for all of you, when you hear somebody say there's only one thing that needs to happen in order for there to be success, just remember what Ibu Elsya is saying today, because I think this is really important about that comprehensive approach. And Ibu Aileen, just if you could talk a little bit about some of what Mastercard's doing. As Jeff mentioned earlier, there's the USAID for Inclusion program, but there's a lot of other things that Mastercard is doing to promote financial inclusion and literacy in Indonesia. So if you could highlight a few of those initiatives.
Yeah. Before I do that, I'd like to ask a question to the audience. How many of you here buy things from Shopee? Can you raise your hand? Anybody buys anything on Shopee? And how many of you buy it on Shopee because it is cheaper? Everything is cheaper, right? Do you buy it because it's cheaper? Is it murah? Yeah, it's cheaper. Yeah, okay. Do you buy it because it's easy to find. Like if you go to a toko, you can't find it, but on Shopee, you can find it. So, we talked about financial inclusion quite a lot. It's actually, a very long way to say, long word, to say that actually when we do financial inclusion, we want to empower you to participate in the economy. Actually, that's even longer, but I apologize. Participate in the economy. What is the economy? The economy is the ability to buy and sell things, simply put. We want to help you participate in the ability to buy things because we believe if you can buy them in a certain way, it's cheaper for you. It's better for you. You can find it. If you didn't buy it digitally, for example, you might not be able to find it and you can't find it at a good price. If you can't sell it digitally, you can't get a good price for it, or you can't sell to people that you are not in your kampong, right? So participating in the economy is a very important concept. It's the entire crux of what financial inclusion is about. The story I'm about to tell is I went to Papua. So I went to an island in Papua called Biak, which is literally right on top of Australia. And the reason why I went to Biak in Papua is because it has the lowest literacy rates in Indonesia. Not financial literacy, actual literacy. So Mastercard, we went there with Wahana VC, and we built some rumah bacas in Biak because we wanted to make sure that children were getting access to books and literacy because that's the basic building block of how we start. And when I was in Biak, I had a chance to meet with the provincial officials from the different provinces. And one of them said to me, Ibu Aileen, can you come to the village and can you show all the women in the village how to sell the batik on Instagram? Because they make this batik and nobody buys it from them, but they want to sell it on Instagram so that people can buy it. Can Mastercard help us? It's a very simple request. Some of you already know how to sell it on Instagram, right? But there are many people who cannot participate in the economy because they don't have these skills. And I think that's what Ibu was saying. So in the way that Mastercard tries to help, it's just to give them basic skills. So we have a program here called Strive Indonesia where we do training for, usaha mikro and kecil, right? To teach them simple things like how to participate in the digital economy. May sound very simple for you and me, right? Shopee, Lazada, Instagram, but maybe not so simple for some women and some small businesses. We teach them how to be safe when they buy and sell online, right? Because whatever money you make, you don't want to lose it to fraud or scams. So those are the things we do to try and enable them to participate in the economy. That's what we do through Strive Indonesia. It's philanthropy. The other, and obviously we have credit, so we do micro lending to these small businesses. We do work with partners. So some of the partners we work with, like Axion and Amata, we don't enable businesses directly, but we teach them to help banks do more lending. So we think banks can participate more as well, but they need more data, they need more tools. So we try to teach partners to teach banks so that banks can also be more inclusive in their own way. So there are 2 or 3 ways that we do this.
No, that's great. And I think one of the things that you just highlighted too that's really important is I think a lot of us, when we're students, we're thinking about how do we participate in the economy, as you said, to buy things. But as we get out of school and then we start to launch our own companies and, not me, but I'm sure you will, then it's about selling things, right? It's about selling into the economy and doing that in a way that is safe. And that's one of the things I hear a lot from small companies and entrepreneurs all around the Asia-Pacific region is that they really need financial inclusion to work for them and the digital tools to work for them so that they can sell, because it's everything from how do they do customs clearances to how do they make sales in the first place to how do they keep inventories of supply chains and everything else. So it's really important. It's going to be in a couple minutes. We're going to open this up to all of you for questions, and I hope you're thinking about your questions because we have really, again, I travel everywhere, and these 2 executives we have, these women on the stage, are amazing and know a lot about this issue. And so really want to encourage you to ask them questions in a moment. But just if you could each take a minute and just maybe sort of transition us into the question period by just saying, what kind of advice would you have for young people, for students, as they think about financial literacy and accessing the economy and participating in the economy, and some of the steps that they may want to take now while they're still in university. Maybe Ibu Elsya, if you could start.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Financial literacy is very important. I will not recommend. I will ask you to understand this financial literacy, especially this digital financial literacy, better. Learn about it and read about it, because currently there are so many things coming up, especially in digital payments, in digital financial services. So the financial services becoming more complex. So it really needs to be supported by adequate knowledge, so you can behave adequately also. So you can also do actions correctly based on correct consideration, based on this knowledge and responsibly, because this is in doing payment. This is we call it this painless payment. Come with also responsibility. Jadi kalau teman-teman misalnya, for example, students now can easily access to pay later, for example. So you need to understand what is pay later, how you gonna pay it. Do you have enough money? Because it comes with consequences. So this is also about the financial literacy. So learn about it well. Be responsible with your financial decision. Thank you.
Great. Ibu Aileen, anything you want to say there?
So you have, I think, I read a report actually in the Financial Times, and then I read a separate report by Deloitte on Zillennials and Alphas. I think you are Zillennials or Alphas. You are very young. You have the quote-unquote harsh reality of worrying about whether your salary can keep up with the cost of living. You are one of those generations where it is possible, if you don't plan for it, the cost of living is going to outpace your salary or your income. I want to sort of say two things, right? I think Ibu Elsya made a really nice point earlier where she said we've got lots of bank accounts, but people don't use them because they have no money. You can't have any money to put in your bank account if you don't plan for it. So actually, it's don't think about it as I need to have money in the bank account and then I plan what to do with it. It's the opposite. I'll tell a story of myself when I was much younger. So this is me. I have anak 3 orang, yeah? So when I was much younger, I was a mother. I was working, my husband also working, and one day my husband decides he's going to stop working and he wants to go and do his MBA. So he takes out a student loan, he goes to do his MBA in a university, and I'm paying for the house, I'm paying for my mother-in-law, and I'm paying for the children's education, and I'm working, right? And one day I looked at my bank account and I realized I used up all my savings because I didn't plan for my cash flow, right? I was making money, wasn't that I was not making money, and I wasn't poor, but I didn't plan for my cash flow. So when I looked at my bank account, I realized that my savings was kosong. So the point here is very simply this. You need to have savings because you planned for it. You don't plan what to do with your savings. It's the opposite, right? And you will be one of those generations where the world can be very difficult in terms of the cost of living. So you must plan, you must take responsibility for it now. That's the hard part about being an adult, but you can do it. Oh, yeah. 2 minutes. There you go.
Great. Well, thank you both. And now we do want to open it up for your questions here in the room. I see a few people over there, right there, the third row, third person in. Yeah, right there. Go ahead. With your hand up. Yeah. You. Go ahead.
Maybe I want to ask about what changes did Bank Indonesia and Mastercard make in the accessibility mechanism for people who have lower income, women, some group of people, and etc. And how does the implications of the mechanism look like for people that is targeted? Is there a difference between the old and renewed mechanism? Thank you.
Good question. You want to start, Elsya?
Oh, it's a very hard question and very good one. So what mechanism Bank Indonesia has made to support financial inclusion for women. Financial inclusion for women. So currently we don't have particularly the spatial policy for women, but it turns out the policy that we are making benefiting for women because, for example, our project to empower the subsistence groups or low-income people groups, 70% participated by women. It is very important then, and then this project taught us about the importance of empowering, economically empowering women. Because once we empowering women, then we could increase their access to financial services. And maybe, I don't know if you know, currently the economic participation of women in Indonesia is only 54% as compared to men, 84%. So we have this low-hanging fruit. If all of you women and the women in all over Indonesia, we can educate, we can give them scale and being participating in the economy, so they can contribute a lot, and it will increase our economic growth quite significantly if we could empower this woman. So currently we are formulating a new policy to refine the current policy on this economic empowerment. So the one especially for women. So we are thinking about the gender lenses. We are putting the gender lenses into the policy. What are the enabling environment need to be put so women can participate in our program, for example, because in the low-income family, Mr. Ambassador, in the rural area, the social norms sometimes cannot allow the woman to participate, even to join the training, even to join the activities being put by us. Yeah.
Aileen, anything on that question from Mastercard's perspective?
Well, I think very similar to Ibu, initiatives that we put out in terms of financial inclusion are meant to benefit everybody, but we specifically direct our focus towards women and small businesses, particularly women-run small businesses, because we see the impact. I talked a lot about training, right? So we call it capacity development or enablement. So just training or helping people to understand it better, because we believe that people are all good, and if they get the training, they will know how to help themselves, right? We do a lot of mentoring. So even here in Indonesia, as part of our Strive Indonesia program, we do mentoring and enablement. And I think in a research that we did do, we saw that 40%, almost 40% of them actually saw the business profits increase just because they understood it better. We also saw that almost 100% of businesses were able to survive because cash flow was better. Most businesses actually shut down because of cash flow issues. And the businesses that did survive were able to hire more people. So they hire at least one new job per business, right? So that's the economic growth we're talking about, right? When businesses are better run, they survive, they hire people, there's more employment. I had a discussion with one of the big banks in the country, and I said, I want to talk about financial inclusion. And the banker said to me, in Indonesia, before we talk about financial inclusion, we talk about job creation. It starts with job creation, right? So there are many organizations who really want to support this and creating jobs. When we help small businesses become bigger businesses, we are creating jobs. So in that sense, I think there has been some impact, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would just add, too, I think with job creation, financial inclusion, women's economic empowerment, the good news is the numbers today are much, much better than the numbers were 25 years ago. But they're still not nearly good enough. And so we'll be looking to your generation, the future leaders, to really continue to work on these very important issues to try to get even better outcomes in the future. Maybe if we could turn to this side of the room. Any questions on this side of the room? Yes, in the front row.
Okay, sorry for asking. Why are financial institutions or bank important factor in supporting the economy in Indonesia? Thank you.
Do you want to start with this one, Ibu, Aileen?
Yeah. So financial inclusion is important because it really allows everybody in Indonesia to participate in the economy, right? And when you can participate in the economy, you have the ability to help grow the wealth. I'll give you an example, and actually this example comes from Africa. Okay, so a few weeks ago, Mastercard announced a program in Africa where we worked with the sub-Saharan nations to help 100 million farmers over 10 years digitally buy and sell their agricultural crops. Because like what Ibu was saying, sometimes if you grow something, you only have a little bit. When you sell it, you don't get a very good price. When you can use a digital platform to sell it to a bigger buyer who is able to consolidate it, you get a better price. So we were able to use digital to help a lot of these farmers buy and sell better. Just like when you buy on Shopee, it's cheaper and better, right? Buy and sell. So when you do that, you retain more wealth for yourself. And you can, if you invest it in your business and you help your small business grow big, you can employ people and the economy grows stronger, right? So financial inclusion is very important for Indonesia because strong economies come from strong communities. Strong communities come from you.
Anything to add, Elsya?
Okay, thank you for the question. It is a very perennial question, actually, why financial inclusion is important. Financial inclusion is not the end goal, actually. It is like an intermediate target because we believe that it will enabling people, all of the people, to have a financial well-being. So what is important is financial well-being. Without financial well-being, then you cannot get education, you cannot get enough food, you cannot send your when you are unhealthy, you cannot pay for the health services. So that's the importance of financial inclusion. So it is very important. Everybody get access to the financial services, and they can use these financial services, as Aileen said, to be involved in the economic activities, and then it can help them to get this financial well-being.
Yeah, thank you. I like the title up here, Bridging Gaps for Everyone. You know, wanting to make sure that everyone can move from, you know, where you are to a more prosperous livelihood, as was just said, which also leads to more prosperous communities and more prosperous countries, more prosperous world. Do we have any questions from online?
Yeah, sure, Mr. Ambassador. We do have a few questions from Instagram, and I would like to pick the most interesting one. The question is, what strategies can be used to ensure that inclusive finance initiatives are sustainable in long term?
That's a really great question. A really tough question. Who wants to go first on that one? Long-term sustainability of these initiatives.
I don't know if it will ensure that it is, but we have this national strategy on financial inclusion, which we review and renew every 5 years. That by itself already telling the public that we are doing this in a long term, in a sustainable manner. So every term, in this 5-year term, we set the priority. We set what are the challenges, what kind of actions we need to take to mitigate and to conquer these challenges and improve this financial inclusion, not only by number of financial inclusion, but also the impact towards the people that are served by these financial institutions. So as I already told you, that currently we consider that the biggest challenge is in the financial literacy, especially the digital financial literacy. So in the coming years, for the period 2025 to 2029, we already have the undang-undang, the law of P2SK, requiring us, the Financial Services Authority, Bank Indonesia, and the Ministry of Finance to establish what we call the National Committee on Financial Inclusion and Financial Literacy. So this is highlighted the importance of not only financial inclusion and financial literacy, and also this is also trying to answer to you that we are having this long-term view on addressing this financial inclusion and other challenges related to financial inclusion.
Great, thanks. I mean, there's some great points there and the long-term nature of that. And that's one of the encouraging things that I've heard as we travel around. I mean, Indonesia is clearly a leader in this area, but in a lot more countries, as you travel around, there is that sort of idea that we need to really implement these plans so that these are long-term initiatives and supported between both government and the private sector so that they can be sustainable over time. Ibu Aileen, any other thoughts on that question?
You guys must be familiar with the phrase gotong royong. So it's kind of where everybody chips in to make a very difficult task bearable to get to a better place. And it was a term I learned when I first moved to Indonesia. But to make it sustainable, at least from our perspective, we look for champions. And there must be champions everywhere in Indonesia so that everyone can work together to uplift the financial inclusion levels of this country. And at least for Mastercard, in the efforts that we've made, we typically split it into two. So there is philanthropy, right, where we, through our Center of Financial Inclusion, work to try and enable communities, but we do it community by community. And the reason why we do it community by community is because it's sustainable. Communities will embrace each other, they will help each other to get better. So for us, that's one. We then work with partners who themselves can become champions. So we're helping banks to lend more money. We're helping banks to be more inclusive. We're giving banks and wallets, right, more digital solutions so that they can reach out to you. So for us to be sustainable, we need to find champions in the community to work together with us. Then everybody can play a part and we can all get there together. So that's kind of the Mastercard view as well.
Great. I know there were some other hands on this side. Yes, sir, in the jacket there, the white shirt.
Love to get a question from a guy, from a boy.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Sarah Wolfsovas. I'm from Universitas Pelita Harapan from International Relation. And allow me to give a few questions. As we can see that raw material prices are so low, especially in Indonesia, just like the pineapple. Is there any way to increase the prices while increase their well-being too? And do you think increasing the economical well-being will improve the better inclusivity? And also, which you think we should fix first, financial literacy or accessibility? Thank you.
Start on the prices?
I shall invite
I could
Ibu
start
to
on
answer.
the prices. Thank you for the very good question. Prices is set in the market based on the supply and demand. The price is low because in Jambi, for example, there are abundant of pineapples and less of people who eat pineapples. Only maybe people in Jambi, not so many, and they have maybe trucks and tons of pineapple. So, but there's always a way to increase the value of this pineapple as the raw material. You can add value to it by, if you have skill in cooking, you can make a sambal nanas, you can bake nastar, you can bake pineapple cake, or you can make anything else. For example, pineapple leaf can be used as a material to make yarn. And there are many things you can do to add value into these raw materials if you have skill. So it is important to put skill into it so you could add value. And the second question is on which one is more...
Financial literacy.
Yeah, I think both are important, because if you have literacy, no access, then it's going to be, you don't know how are you going to use it. But once there is access, you need to know how to use it, how to make optimum benefit, maximum benefit out of these services. But you need to know also the risk and the consequences in using each one of the feature in it. Yeah, thank you.
And I know I'm here to moderate, but I have a story for this question as well, if you don't mind. So last year, like I said, we hosted these Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation meetings in the United States, all over the United States. And one of our meetings where we were focused on women's economic empowerment and focused on small and medium-sized enterprises was in Seattle. And so I and my team, we went out and we met with a lot of the small companies that were based in Seattle to try to hear about these very kinds of challenges that they face, including things like price. You know, how are they getting a better price on their products, and what are some of the challenges that they're facing? So I talked to one company called Chucker Cherries. It's from Eastern Washington State. And they had gone through a long journey that started in the 1980s when the CEO and her husband bought the cherry farm. And they didn't really know what they were doing, but they were a small company, and they started out and they started producing cherries. And what they noticed was they had problems with, you know, price, where are we going to sell these things, because everybody sells cherries or has cherries in Washington State. It's exactly this kind of problem. But they did a couple things. One was exactly what Ibu Elsya just talked about. They looked to add value. Could they have chocolate cherries? Could they have dried cherries? Could they have different kinds of cherries that might sell better in the market? But the other thing that was really a risk for them, but I think a very important step that they took, was then they started to look for other markets outside of Washington State. Could they sell their cherries in Canada? Could they sell their cherries in California? Could they sell their cherries in other parts of the United States? And then could they sell them in Asia? And how could they start to create trade around their cherry company? And so they've become a very successful model, and now they sell their cherries in the Seattle airport, so you can pick up a packet of them as you leave. And they've really become successful because they've added value, just as Ibu just said, and they've also looked for new markets and identified new markets. And even as a small company, they've been able to do that. And that's something the United States, through our engagement in APEC and through so much of our engagement around the region, is really, really focused on trying to do, is trying to help companies do just that. So it's a great question. Thank you very much. Any other questions from this side? Yes, right there.
Okay, my name is Salma Halimatu Soleha. I'm from University Primagraha in Serang, Banten. And what are the negative impacts of the many new technologies that include digital marketing, like Dana or Shopee Pay Later and etc.? And I'm so sorry if I misunderstood what was previously explained, and sorry if I need to repeat this. Thank you.
No, it's a great question. We talked a lot about the benefits of digital, marketing, but there's obviously some downsides as well, right? That's what you're asking about. Do you have thoughts on that, Ibu Aileen?
So, and obviously, Ibu Elsya, please chip in. Digital, one of the big things that we see is as the digital economy has expanded, so too have cybersecurity attacks as well as scams. So it is very important when you participate in the economy, the digital economy, you are also very careful. I think it has grown so fast and so large that we don't yet have all the skills to learn how to protect ourselves when we're on the digital economy. There are kind of two things that we would ask you to watch out for. A, be very careful how much information you leave of yourself on the internet, because there are very sophisticated criminals whose main job is to collect all the information about you so they can do social engineering and scam your family or scam your friends pretending to be you. So that is one, okay? And the more you go online, even if it's just to watch TikTok or to post something, not to buy anything, you leave what we call little digital fingerprints of yourself everywhere. And there are criminals who are following this and they're gathering information so that they can use it to attack you. Okay, so that's one. The second thing, obviously, is be careful when you have to make payments to someone, because there is just a lot of stuff that's happening out there where sometimes if you're not as sophisticated, you are going to expose yourself to an attack. So yes, there are risks. The digital world can be a very dangerous place. It's extremely sophisticated, and I know the BI has a very strong point of view on that.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a very good question. I think I echo what Aileen just said. It is very important, especially for the young people, because they are very active in social media. So be very careful on what you are sharing in social media. information, private information, because people can misuse that. For example, I got a call on Sunday. People call me, a person called me and asked me if I already connect my citizenship number with my tax number. I know I have connected it, but I never got this kind of questions from people. And I said, yeah, what happened? You haven't connected. Okay, so we can help you to connect that. No, I can do it myself. We can help you. And this guy is pushing me, and then I just turn off the phone. I know it's social engineering because all of us, we're gonna have this pemilu daerah, the general election, the regional general election soon, end of this month. Then these people trying to see the opportunity to make a scam out of this situation. So be really, really careful of this and how these people can get my number. So these people can get your number too, and be very careful when you do payment, when you share your phone number, when you share your KTP, when you share your NPWP and other kind of information, including the picture of your house, where you are going for holiday. Said that they're going to be, there are social engineering scam related to this kind of information.
I have to agree. And one of the things that we have done is we have launched some cyber security awareness courses, which are available online. They're going to come online soon on the DTS Digital Talent Scholarship platform with ComInfo. So they'll come online, I think, in 1 or 2 months, and you can go in and you can start to do some training. You can even do a small test to see if your awareness is up, right? So I think these are things that it's important for you to be aware of.
Great, thanks. And these are emerging issues. They're new concerns, and we all need to work together, whether private sector or government or all of you. So that's a great question. Thank you. Maybe one more from online, and if there's something, and then we can do a quick, maybe 1-minute response from each of our guests.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Ambassador. We do have another question from Instagram. What are the challenges of financial institutions face in implementing inclusive finance initiatives?
So maybe a 1-minute answer here on some of the key challenges you face in implementing these initiatives. Maybe start with Ibu Elsya.
There are so many challenges. The key challenges is financial literacy, I think, nowadays. That's why we spend so much effort on this, and we are preparing for the initiative, big initiative on digital financial literacy, and working to, as Mr. Ambassador said, it cannot be done by one institution alone. It needs to be supported. It needs to be a gotong royong effort. So from the government institution, from the ministries, from the private sectors, including the financial services, the payment services, and the group of people itself, maybe from the schools, from the Ministry of Education. So it's really important. The challenges is financial literacy because it needs to keep up with the increasing complexity of this financial sector because of the acceptance of the digital. Yeah.
Great. Ibu Aileen?
So I would say when you think about financial products, think about a bank account or a kartu debit, kartu credit, or a loan or anything. It's like having a long-term relationship. You have it with you for a long time. So a lot of the banks that I speak to, they don't have a problem signing you up for the first time. But they do have a problem when later, as you're using it, you have issues or you have question, ada masalah. Then you need to call someone and talk to someone, or you have to go to a branch to do something. Servicing the customer, providing service for the product over a long period of time can be very difficult for some of the banks. They're not set up, right? They can sell you something online in the app, but the servicing part, I think we still have some development to go, yeah, Ibu? So I think some of the banks are now thinking of how they use AI, chatbots, ways to help you if you have problems, easy ways to help you so that you don't have to go to a branch, an office, call someone, which can be very difficult for you, right? So in terms of financial access, We've made some progress in terms of helping you to get the product digitally or using agents and so on and so forth, but servicing the product, because financial products and financial health is for a long time, I think that's where some of the challenges are for the banks.
Great. Well, thank you to both of you. And one thing I just want to say as we get ready to close out is, it's my first time to Jakarta in a long time, and it's my first time to AdAmerica ever. I'm very impressed that when we're talking about financial literacy, that all of you have come out on a Thursday afternoon to spend time improving your own financial literacy by listening to our two rock star panelists here with Ibu Aileen and Ibu Elsya. So I would encourage you to continue to develop your financial literacy as you go forward. Read as much as you can. There are a lot of resources available to you. Here at AdAmerica is one of those resources. Our embassy in Jakarta is always working to try to push out good information. And I know that you said there's another Women in Finance panel next week here, right? So lots of opportunities, not to mention getting online and learning more about what Mastercard is doing, what Bank Indonesia is doing, and so many other organizations here in Indonesia are doing to make sure that we can bridge the gap in inclusive finance. So thank you very much, and I'll turn it back to Farah.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much for a very empowering session to Ibu Aileen, Ibu Elsya, and also to Ambassador Murray for leading the discussion. And also, let's work hand in hand all together to make our financial environment more inclusive. If you're interested to know more about our event, kindly visit our media social as well at AT America, and also check out our website at www.atamerica.or.id to get more information about our events. And with that, my name is Farah Shiba with the entire AdAmerica team saying goodbye and see you at the next AdAmerica event. Bye.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.